everybody, welcome back to So Darn Twisted. Thank you for joining my channel today. We are going to be talking about masterboards, specifically what can you do with masterboards, because that's something that gets asked quite often when I release freebies, because what I tend to do is I will make a masterboard like here, and then I will scan it, high resolution scan it, and give them away as freebies on my Ko-fi and my Facebook groups and stuff. So a lot of the time you get asked the question, what do I do with it? What's its purpose? What are they for? Because I'd never heard of one when I first started. You know, what was this masterboard that everybody kept talking about? That people were, you know, showing pictures of these enormous, great big sheets of like Amazon packaging paper and, you know, plaster and stuff all over. And I thought, that looks like a little bit of a job. And I personally like things I can do like in an evening. I don't really like projects that are going to take me days, weeks, you know, unless it's an entire journal. Obviously that's a culmination thing and a cumulative, whereas these, you can make one that's perfectly serviceable, and I've made a couple of tutorials on how I make my masterboards. So if you're looking to see how, go and check out the videos. I'll link those in the description. But these are the ones that I've already made. As I say, they're nice and small, but they are functional. These are A4, like US letter sized boards. So this one was just loads and loads of pieces of vintage things that I had left over. You know, there's all manner of stuff in there. Some of it's stickers, some of it is, you know, pieces of lace doily, you know, music sheets, just loads. Bits that had come off of pages that I cut to go in my journals, you name it, it's in there. And this one was actually from Fifi the Paper Crafter's Victorian tea set part 2 that I printed out some of it yesterday. And I don't know why, but I wanted to make something with it that wasn't just, you know, like a put it together journal thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I really wanted to just take some of it apart. And what I did was I took a couple of the backgrounds primarily, and I cut them up into pieces to use. So like this is all from part of a background, this is trim from a background, these are the little tags that are in the ephemera sheets, and that was the top of one of the backgrounds as well. And then what I did was, again, that's another one of the backgrounds there, I took the tags that were included in the kit, and again some more of the, oh, that doesn't belong in there, some more of the background paper and some more of the little label tags. So yeah, and I made a little tag book, you know, thing to go in a nice little envelope, stick it in a tuck spot or something in one of the journals. So obviously by the time I'd done hacking all of that up, I had a lot of bits and pieces left over. So I thought, well, these colours are so gorgeous, you know. I really loved the palette of this one. I love the palette of like pinks and greys, you know, sort of warms and cools, things like this look really, really nice aesthetically. So I thought I'm going to make a masterboard out of that as well. So I'm going to use both of these. This one I won't be giving away as a freebie because it came from, you know, almost all of it. There's a few pieces that weren't from the kit, you know, but only a few. So I wouldn't put this out there as a freebie because it's from, obviously, you know, part of a kit. So I'm going to show you some things that we can make and come up with some really nice things. So equipment then, I've got, because I'm using two different styles of masterboard here, I have got a few extra bits and pieces than I would normally use, because normally I'd only be working on like one theme, but I thought, why not mix it up today, you know, do something a little bit different. So obviously you're going to want some glue, you know, if you want a corner punch just to round off corners and stuff, they're always useful. I've got two different types of ink here. I've got this really nice sort of light toffee crunch one, that's called, I believe, and I used that one on the edges of this, so as you can see it's just really, really subtle, which is nice. And then I've got the darker one that I've been using for the vintage one, so that's the reason I have two lots of ink. I've got some lace and trim in suitable colours and such. And so I've got some more lace off to the side as well, but they're the bits that were there. I've got some embellishments that I've either die cut or made. These ones, there is actually a tutorial for these if you want to make some. It's a few videos back. Again, I will try to remember to link that one in the description as well, but it's very, very easy to find because there is a picture of this kind of thing as the thumbnail. So I'll probably use a couple of those, and I've got things like, you know, just tabs and stuff. What else do we have? I've got some just sort of embellishments in the form of some stickers, some gemstones, and I found one of these that I think Paula sent me this. I absolutely loved these. I thought they were fantastic, so I've got one of those left, so I'm going to use that today as well. I recommend having some blank, like plain paper. It can be, you know, plain end of book pages, you know, anything that's plain that you can write on, basically. I've got a couple of nice pieces that came out of a paper pack here, but I often just use, like I say, those end pages of books to make writing space on the back of some of what we're going to be doing today. I am going to be using some punches. They're not necessary though, but I particularly like to use them for this kind of thing. So yeah, so there are punches, but don't feel that they're necessary because they're not. So I've got a tag punch there for 3 different sizes. I've got my scalloped punch, and I've got a single round punch. I'll get it out there now just in case, I may be using some of the X-Cut system. Thank you, Amanda, from one of our group's Journals to Inspire, that I help run with her. Well, it's her group, I help her run it, I should say. My words were wrong there. I'd been looking for one of these. Oh, this was months ago. I'd been looking for one. I didn't know what it was called. She told me. I now have it, and I can honestly say I didn't use it as much as I thought I would, but for things like this, it does come into its own. So possibly going to be using that. I've got some just like some sentiments and some sort of texture, you know, things like doilies, spiderweb mesh, and just like textured fabric and stuff like that. So this is just the kind of thing I might use. You don't need all of that to do what we're going to do today. They're just some of the things that I would ordinarily use for one thing or another. So, you know, don't think, oh my god, I need to have all of that stuff. You don't. This is just, as I say, this is just to get you in the idea of what we'd use over the course of using masterboards. And you can do a lot more as well. This is just my go-to stuff. So the first thing that I always do is I like to try and make some tags, because they do make fantastic tags that you don't need to do a lot to them. Once you've cut them, you know, you can add bits to them, but you don't have to do a fat lot, and that makes them brilliant in my mind. Not obviously the using up of the scraps is the most genius part about it all, but tags that you don't have to decorate too much, fabulous. Now, because the tag punch that I like to use requires specific widths, which is 1.5, 2 and 2.5 inch widths, so you can just cut them by hand, make them any size that you like. You don't have to cut them to a specific size. As I say, it's purely because I need them to fit into my punch. So what I would do is I would look at the board kind of thing and think, all right, what would I particularly like to be on a tag? And I'd quite like to have one that way, with that really nice just piece there as a sort of focal point, you know. So what I would do is I would measure up sort of the 2 or the 2.5 inch on that piece there. So, and then I'll use the bottom piece that comes off with it for another tag as well, which I need to turn that around. I'm actually going to turn it that way because it makes it easier for me to see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's get that over for the 2.5 inch, I think, because it can certainly withstand the 2.5 inch. So, but as I say, just cut it to size with scissors, absolutely fine, no problem there at all. And then I'm just going to cut that kind of about there, because you lose, if you're using a tag punch, you will lose a little bit at the top, so I tend to overcompensate for that. So I'll get my trusty punch, I put it in that way because again it's a bit easier, and we're just going to punch that out. This might be a bit loud, I apologise. Alright, so there we go. I have my nice tag number 1. So I've just cut and put things to one side, and then I go back to them and decorate them. So let's have that bit off the top of this one. And that's tag number 2. So we're already seeing some nice results there without having to do a fat lot of anything, right? Let's chuck that up the back there, and these bits of rubbish can go straight in them. So the next thing I would look for is a nice journal card area kind of thing, something that's got in and of itself quite a lot of nice interesting things going on it already. There's lots of different texture and pattern and colour in that one, so I would just cut that one along that length there. I don't know why I put this away, because I'm just going to carry on using it, because you know, scissors are great and all, but we all know that I don't do well with scissors, so you know, better off just not kidding myself, am I right? Okay, so I am going to move it though, aren't I? Yes, because I need the space. All right, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to grab my scallop punch, and again just kind of pick areas that've got interesting things. And what I tend to do here is I'll kind of turn it upside down and just move it around a bit, you know, and just kind of go, all right, what's looking the most interesting there, you know. And then when I find the bit that I think, oh yes, that bit's interesting, I'll go ahead and cut it. Now this, you can either just punch a hole in it, call it a tag, you know, why not? And obviously, you know, embellish it further, but you could just leave that there, call it a tag, job's a good one. But my friend Amanda, popping up again, hi Amanda, she did a tutorial that I absolutely loved, and I use it in most of my journals now just because I think it's so cute, which is to make a little mini notebook using a couple of these. So I sort of thought, yeah, I'm going to do that from my masterboard, and here we are. So I then will cut a second piece that fits nicely as well. For this you can just use plain card if you prefer for the back. Okay, so I've got those two there. I'll leave that there for now. At this point I might make a bookmark. I might make a second journaling card, and I will also make like strip embellishments and things like that. If you have areas that you can stamp on, that's always good as well. So what I would do here is I would grab my scissors and just nick that bit there, and I would just cut along that edge there, and I would use that just as a trim over something, you know, like just a little focal point, you know, not on this particular thing obviously, but similar to how that I used that across the front, you know, on something that's plain. That will stand out quite nicely, and you can obviously decorate it. So even those little bits are useful because they've got interest from being a masterboard. They've got texture, you know, with the overlapping edges, the way that I do mine, and you know, they've also got the whole mishmash of colour and contrast and stuff in there, so that's fabulous. So you're not wasting those bits, you know, by cutting out something like a scallop or a circle. So that's really useful. So what I'll probably do here is cut this down into 2 smaller journaling spots, or I would make a frame out of it, which would then give me a journaling spot as well. So for that is when I would use something like this, but again, you can just flip it over, draw it on the back and cut it out with a craft knife. You know, you can just make it squares, it doesn't have to be rounded, that kind of thing. So, you know, so don't worry. But I would absolutely say, right, well, if I was to cut, it's going to have to go over there somewhere, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so it's going to go up that top edge. So what I would do, get that close to the edges because the cutter will allow that. And I'm really, really awful at using this thing. Like, I will say that now. I'm absolutely terrible at it. I think because it requires you to be able to push down quite a lot, which, as we know, I do have problems with strength in my hands. So whilst it is a fabulous tool, there is an end user error, and that error is me. So now I'd switch it round and put it on the inside and go again. All right then. So, well, it hasn't quite gone through that bit there. I can trim that bit off, so it's fine. So there, I could either make that into a tag or another journal, like mini journaling spot, or both. Why not both? You know, both is fine. Both works. So let's just get that off of there. Oh, see what I mean? I'm absolutely rubbish at using that thing. So we're just gonna pop that round there and just catch the edges that it missed. Well, that it missed, I missed, who knows. That bit's okay, it's just the paper underneath, it didn't go quite all the way through. But then I am using this on craft card because I find that if I'm doing things like journaling cards and the like, that I find things like the Amazon packing paper and that to just be too flimsy. I like things to be a little bit more sturdy than that. So yeah, it's kind of, I prefer to do it on card. If not craft card, then at least kind of, you know, sort of 160 GSM card, really. All right, so there I have, as I say, either tag, journaling spot or both, and a frame to stick into my journal with something nice behind that. Or you could obviously put a piece of acetate, you know, in there. It's all manner of things like that you can do. And then, so we're just going to end up with a couple of little pieces that we can use in the same way as that piece there, to just add dimension and decoration to other things, other projects in the journal, you know, or just keep them to one side for the next journal that you do of that theme or colour, or, you know, what have you. So we're okay there. I'll get that one off as well. So I try to sort of go, okay, what's the, you know, the most useful size I can get out of this piece. All right, so that's the vintage bits cut. So as you can see there, we've got two really nice sized tags. Obviously you can make smaller tags, you'll get more out of it that way as well. I've got a front and back cover to make a little notebook with. I've got a frame, another tag or journaling spot. I've got a larger journal card, and I've got some embellishment strips. So not bad from, you know, a little bit of time in front of the telly to just make a few bits and pieces. So we'll go ahead now and cut some things out of the lighter one from Fifi's designs. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different tag punch. I'm going to use the one that's got the slit holes in the top rather than the circle holes, because I want to be able to get some nice fabric through them and not have it bunch up quite as tightly as it does when you can use that fabric through the whole tags, obviously, but I think it looks really nice on those as well when it's just got that little bit more width to it. So again, I'm going to pick out something that I like the idea of for a tag, and I'm quite liking that little strip there, to be honest. So we're going to again just flip that over, and this time I'm just going to do those at the 2-inch width rather than the 2.5. What you can also do in this sort of situation where you have, you know, you can just put it in there like this as one whole strip kind of thing, rather than cutting again and then maybe realizing that you don't like where that's cut, which happens. It's happened to me. You might go, oh, actually I wanted that one to be a bit shorter or a bit longer, so you can get your hole in and you can kind of visualize where you want your tag to stop kind of thing, you know. So I'm sort of looking at about here would be a really nice place for that to stop. So I'm just going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to go across there. So that's tag number 1, and then I can obviously go ahead and do this one as well now, tag number 2. So nice and easy. If you are going to cut them by hand rather than using a tag punch, that's really nice and easy, because all you have to do here is cut an angled piece off, flip it over to that side, cut the same angle, punch a hole, and you're good to go. So really simple to make a tag that has matching sides that way. So just for example, if where are we, where's one of those little strippy bits, there we go. So, you know, if I've gone and I've cut that much off of that piece, let's do it that way, you might see it a bit better. So if I cut that angle there, I would then take that piece, I would flip it the opposite way round, and then I would just cut the same that way. And that, it's as simple as that to make a tag. You don't need fancy punches or anything like that. I like the ornate tops to them, but you know, you can even just cut yourself a template and do that way. Then I'm going to make some journal cards with the rounded edges, but again, you can do it exactly the same way as this one. You don't have to have anything fancy to do it for you. And I'm just gonna kind of see what I would like to have on this journal card. That's beautiful. Okay, we're gonna go to there, just so that you can all laugh at my ineptitude again. You know, I am a sucker for punishment, aren't I? All right, so let's go. This card isn't quite as thick, I don't think, as the, like the layering isn't as thick because of what I printed Fifi's kit out on. Was just like, it was card, but it wasn't like craft card thickness. It was just, like I mentioned earlier, I'm probably about 160, you know, just enough to be sturdy without being savage. So I just missed a little tiny bit there. It's fine, we'll just round that off. Okay, so that's a nice little sized journal card there. That's better, wasn't letting me tap that little bit off. So lovely sized journal card. Then I might make an oval frame out of this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it so I can make that chunk into something else as well. So I'm going to make the oval one down here. Again, just line that up to make sure it's not all the way over the edges. And off we go again. I think this is the most I've used this in months. Just tidy that one up again as well. So realistically, it didn't really matter what I had in the frame there. Okay. So there we go. That's another nice little pretty frame there. And another tag. We're doing well, right? Okay, let's pop that away. Then what I'm going to do with this piece here from the masterboard, I'm just going to trim that up so it's got some straight edges for me. And I'm going to get one of my border punches, which again, not a necessary step, I just thought it might look nice, so I thought, yeah, why not? quite often when I'm making masterboards, I am thinking on the fly, you know, when I'm using them up. And then just round that there. Fantastic. That is now going to be a cute little pocket in one of the journals. Let's just a little bit of overhang out the way. So that's that done. And then I thought we can make a nice notebook cover, because I really like that particular design piece on there, and I didn't really want to cut into that because it's just so sweet. So I thought, well, the best idea then is to make something else that incorporates it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it to kind of where some of the edges are on those, and then I'm going to just trim that. No, actually I'm not going to trim that. I'm lying to you. I'm lying to you guys. I'm going to score that. So I'm going to just kind of put it about there, give that a really nice score, and then I'm going to turn it over and do the same, just because it's such thick, you know, well, thick in the realms of, you know, this kind of thing. I'm going to fold that over, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some scrap paper. I've got some pieces here that are a bit beaten up around the edges and stuff like that, so this will do. So what's the measurement of that? We are at just over 6 centimeters. So if I cut it at 6 centimeters, that will make sure it doesn't overhang. So I'm just going to cut a couple of those, and then I'm just going to see what length we have there. Okay, that's fabulous. So I know if I cut that just shy of there, then that's going to be fabulous. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to get my stapler, and I'm just going to give that a couple of little staples in the top, get myself some glue, and I'm just going to glue onto this bit here. Pop that in almost to the top and give that a fold over. Lifted a little bit of my masterboard there. I've just got a... The problem with using glue stick to make it is that sometimes things don't stick once you try to do something like fold them. They're okay for everything else, but as soon as you try to fold them, sometimes they just kind of ping up, which is a bit annoying, but never mind. And then I'll just go in here and just kind of glue about the same depth as your overlap piece. And pop that down. So now we've got a cute notebook there as well, ready to decorate. See, so many things. Basically, you can use a masterboard in any way that you'd use any other patterned card, you know. Just because it's been made up from little bits and pieces doesn't really change the things that you can use it for. In fact, some things it's better for because it's that bit more robust from having, you know, card and then more card and paper layered on the top. So that's always useful. So I'm going to cut that bit down there so that I can just steal that again for just like an embellishment kind of situation. What you could also do when you have those little bits left over is you could put an eyelet in the top and make it into a page hanger, or, you know, you could put paper clips on the back, you know, and use them as paper clips. There's so many uses for those like strippy bits. Again, the same way that you would often just use normal scraps, you know, applies to bits of masterboard. Oh my God, I think I'm sick of saying masterboard. Okay, and I'm going to have that one as just another kind of journal card. So let's get some stuff out of the way now. So at this stage I would be getting my corner clipper, you know, which I usually do. It's very, very rare that I leave edges squared on things. I don't know why. I'm just personal preference, not that keen on the rough squared edges. So I tend to just kind of go ahead, clip everything out, and then, you know, ink what needs to be inked kind of thing from all of it, because there might be some of it that you really don't want to or need to, and that's fine. So I'll just jump ahead and do what I'm going to do with these. So the first thing that I'm going to do with these now is I am going to pick out what is being punched and having an eyelet through it. So first of all, I'm going to make that little one there into a tag. I need these cutters for these eyelets. Let's get that in there. Lovely. And I'm going to pop one of these just little white eyelets in there because I've not used them for anything else. I have this entire tub of coloured eyelets and I think I've only ever used a couple of the black ones. So okay, that's that one. So that's in there nicely, and I think I might actually make this into a little hanging, sorry, a little paper clip. I know the word I needed, it just wasn't the right one. So we'll just grab a paper clip, a little bit of scrap card here. So I'm just going to cut a piece width. Doesn't have to be very deep. Okay. I'm just going to stick that onto the back of there, but that way round. Yep, that's better. So now we have our little paperclip thing as well. This is obviously going to be a journal card. Now you can just leave that if you've got, say, like the colour backing that you would be using anyway, like the colour palette, and it matches. You could just leave it. You could draw some lines over it, or you could take a piece of paper and give it a little bit more interest by adding something onto the back of it there like that, you know, or one like this. Or if there's plain paper that matches, I made a background, just a plain background to back, just to put in as the backing pieces when I was doing this yesterday. So I would potentially just use a piece of that in there as well. So that would be that journaling card, you know. So we'll get that decorated. So I think what I would probably do is use something like one of these as the as a pull tab for the top of this journal card. Just throw a little bit of ink just to get rid of the white cut edge. Again, I'm using a really pale, kind of almost beige ink on this one. And then I'm just gonna give that a little fold, glue it on. I think I'm actually going to have that one that way up. And then I'd probably use some lace or something on this one. Maybe a little piece of this would look nice on there. Absolutely gorgeous this is. I need to get some more. I need to find some more of this. But a piece like that under there would look really, really nice. So let's grab that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut it around the edge of that flower on the lace, and then the same that way, and then that will just go into my snippets box to use later on, because I normally end up making a masterboard and a snippet roll from each project or journal that I do, and then that is ready for when I do that theme again the next time, you know. So if it's like a vintage one or a steampunk one, or you know, whatever, and I've just got a load of bits and pieces there already made, you know, which is kind of great. So that's just really cute. You can add more stuff to that if you wanted to, like maybe a sentiment or something. Let's see what we've got in here. So we could have something like that on there. So if we pop that down there, and then possibly a little gemstone. Yes, let's have some little pearls. So we'll stick one over there. Sometimes you do have to glue these on, they just won't stay. Other ones will stay quite happily. So pop one on, give it a test. If you can push it around easily, glue it. If you can't push it around easily, it's probably going to be fine. Okay, so there we go, one really cute journal card. So now I'll quickly talk you through a couple of things to do with the vintage one, because obviously I don't need to teach you how to decorate things, you know, and I've already obviously given some ideas of what these things can be used for. But this one, you're just going to need to grab your punch again, or cut out the same shapes that you cut out your little cover. They can be square, they can be diamond shape, heart shape, you can do whatever you want. You just have to make sure that you're cutting out the same from your writing paper or card that's going into it as well. So I'm just going to cut, you know, a handful of these. All right, so I've just cut out 5 or 6 of those pieces, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line them up, all the edges. Obviously, if you're using a shape, just line up your shape, and that's fantastic. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take away half. I'm going to get my hole punch, and I'm just going to get in there with a decent kind of gap. Oh, without doing that though. Hand spasms, not fun. Okay, and then we're going to take the other pieces, and I'm just going to take this one cover piece, pop it on the back so that I can see where the hole is here. So I know that I'm punching it in the same place for the fronts and the backs, or the front, the back and the pages I should say, really. So we're just going to locate that hole. And just decide which one's going to be your front, which one's going to be your back, because obviously that will dictate where your eyelet goes. Pop your eyelet in there. Now the key is, do not massively tighten your eyelet. Don't be tempted to really force it down, because then it makes it difficult to turn. You don't have to use an eyelet, you can just put some lace through it instead if you wanted to. That's entirely up to you. You know, a bit of lace, bit of ribbon, what, you know, whatever really. But I'm just gonna pop that on there, and so it's on there but to the point where I can still open it, you see. So that would be a little notebook, and then you can then hang it from a bulb pin, for example, you know, and or you could clip it to the page, you could tie it to your page, you could just stick it in a pocket, you know, basically the same way that you'd use a tag really, except for it's a little mini notebook. And so again, I saw that from Amanda, Journals to Inspire, linked in the description already as one of my groups. So thank you for that, Amanda, because I loved that so much, it was ridiculous. So this kind of thing, I would probably, actually I love the idea of putting that on there as the top of a frame. How adorable is that? Oh, I love it, I love it. That is just so beautiful. It's one of the nicest handmade embellishments I've been sent. I absolutely adored it. So There we go. How beautiful is that? Yeah, it's gorgeous, right? And then that one is the kind of thing that I would just then, you know, pop a journaling space on the back of it. I wouldn't bother decorating the back of it at all. I'd throw some embellishments, some sentiments and embellishments on it, some, you know, vintage lace, just that kind of thing really. So with a bit of luck, you guys are now a bit inspired to go out, use up all your scraps, or at least a lot of your scraps, which is a good reason. It helps to keep your scraps in separate parts that are themed. So I have different folders for vintage, you know, shabby chic, gothic, steampunk, rose garden, you know, they've all got their own individual folders. And then when I want to make a masterboard, you know, I've just finished a project, I can dive in, see what was left over from previous projects, throw together a couple of masterboards in the space of an evening, because they really do take no time at all. And then I've got all of this lovely ephemera out of it. And obviously, yes, a lot of it's undecorated at this point in time, but out of those 2 masterboards, I have got all of this. And I don't think that's too shabby, really. You know, I think that's actually quite useful. You know, I've got plenty of tags, I've got a couple of beautiful little frames, I've got pockets, I've got journaling cards, you know, I've got paper clips, I've got all manner of stuff there, you know, and they all look beautiful. They all tie in fabulously with the project. You know, you can also do this at the end of a project to fill pockets and stuff that you've made using the same theme, and then stuff the tags and stuff like that in the pockets. Wonderful. So I'm going to leave it there, guys, because as I say, I'm not going to decorate any more of this on camera. But I really hope that it has inspired you. I hope it's made you, you know, think to yourself, right, I'm going to break out the scraps, I'm going to make myself a masterboard, and I'm going to do like Becca says, and I'm going to make myself loads of nice ephemera to put into my journals, or even just to throw into happy mail and stuff. People love things like this, you know, so throw them into happy mail and make somebody smile. And you can do that using scraps. How cool is that, guys? So as always, leave me a comment if you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you liked the most. Tell me if there's something else that you make out of your masterboards. Absolutely love new ideas of things to make with masterboards, because my brain capacity is finite. Yeah, let's just put that out there. So yeah, you know, if there's something else that you do, please do let me know in the comments. If you did enjoy the video as well, please do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys for the next tutorial. Happy crafting.